What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of ITG inside the GIAA. It's Thrift, Barringer. It's Richard Holdridge live from the Beck Center. Shout out to Roger Beck and the Beck Center of Academic and Athletic Success for allowing us to be here every single Wednesday. And we got a great show in store for you. I don't know if you know, Richard, playoff basketball.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to break down all the brackets. We're going to go deep dive and who's going to be playing what. We're going to give you our analysis on that. We plan on having state championship winning wrestling coach Sammy Roundtree of Athens Christian. And then we will wrap it up with Kent Copeland. Everybody's like, who puts together these events? Who's in charge of logistics? Clint Morgan's a big part of it, but the main culprit is Kent Copeland. And I'm looking forward to talking with him about why he chose CSU as the destination for the semifinals and finals. And also Bruton Parker, too, as the other semifinal location. But, Richard, how you doing, man?
I've been doing great. We are just in the thick of the playoffs for basketball. We had games yesterday for the boys, those 5-12, 6-11, 7-10, 8-9 matchups.
Actually, it was all girls yesterday. The boys were actually supposed to be today, except for Calvary.
Calvary did play Kings Academy yesterday.
That's because they don't play games on Wednesday. So they asked could they move their game to Tuesday.
Oh,
continue anyway.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So it was the girls yesterday,
Yeah.
and we actually do have updated brackets for you because, Brookstone right now is playing Tallulah Falls, and we do have some updates that we might be able to have like as these games are going on right now.
We will try to, as best we can, talking about all those games that happened here over the past couple of days, talking about the Elite Eight that's coming up in Macon on Friday and Saturday. Friday, girls. Saturday is the boys. But, man, we've had a lot of fun doing this. We're going to be doing it next week. We'll have an ultimate preview show for the semifinals and finals, and that's going to be it for ITG until spring season when we pick up our coverage again for getting closer to playoffs for baseball. You got soccer, you got tennis, golf, track and field. I mean, it's a busy time in the spring. So we'll pick it back up probably towards April. But we've had a lot of fun here starting this show back in January. Richard, I can't believe we're already on 8 weeks we've been doing this show.
I can't believe it. And basketball playoffs are here. All the winter sports wrapped up to include archery, swimming, wrestling. And then, of course, the spring sports have just gone underway. But it's a good time just to be a fan of the GIAA. We even added a new segment last week. This was a lot of fun. The GIAA, Where Are They Now?
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun with that. I haven't had a chance to go through and see if there's any other famous GIAA alum out there. But I think that's a pretty popular segment that we would love to pick back up.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back from break, we're going to go dive into deep detail with the basketball games that are coming up, talk about all the brackets and stuff. So looking forward to being able to do that. You saw it behind us. It actually just went away. The Vault. If you want to watch all the games that have ever happened on GIAA.tv, go to the Vault. It is cheap. It's affordable, and you get access to all this stuff. And by the way, if you want to watch the live streams for the semifinals and finals, it's on GIAA.tv. Very affordable to be able to watch all the games that day. So make sure you go to GIAA.tv. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be right back after this. It's inside the GIAA from the Beck Center. Hey, can you?
GIAA.tv now brings you more live coverage of more sports than ever before. Announcing GIAA.tv Lite with live coverage of swim, wrestling, cheer, and more. GIAA.tv Lite is the next best thing to being there. From one screen, you will hear the crowd, see the action, the scores, the stats, and more. With no play-by-play or instant replays, GIAA.tv Lite is half the price of our regular broadcast. Announcing GIAA.tv Plus. With all of your fan favorites, GIAA.tv Plus now adds volleyball, softball, all-star football, and more. Featuring all the play-by-play, instant replays, multiple angles, and more, all for less than the cost of 2 adult tickets to the event. Don't miss 1 second of the action all year long, only on GIAA.tv.
Founded in 1985, the Georgia Independent School Association proudly represents nearly 170 accredited private, independent, and parochial schools across the state. From Tallulah Falls to St. Simon's Island, from Columbus to Augusta, our schools serve over 76,000 students every year. Whether parents are interested in smaller class sizes, more individual attention, a religious-based curriculum, or a safe and structured environment, the GISA provides a strong education, which is the foundation for success. To learn more about the GISA and how they can serve your school, visit us online at www.gisaschools.org.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.
We're back here on Inside the GIAA Thrift, Barringer, Richard Holdridge from the Beck Center. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Richard, if you don't mind, let's throw up some of those graphics that you had downloaded and made for us, and we're going to talk about all the games that are happening, and we're going to start first with the Class A girls matchups, and they've already been filled in because, again, a lot of those games happened yesterday. Yeah. So we got Fullington taking on the 8 Thomas Jefferson on Friday at 1:30. Robert Toombs taking on Memorial Day, the 5 4-5. That's probably going to be the best matchup of that quarterfinal. St. George taking on Crisp, and John Hancock taking on Citizens Christian. I'm going to go chalk. I think we're going to get Robert Toombs, Fullington, St. George, Citizens Christian, and I'm leaning towards a Fullington Citizens Christian championship. You know, I've been hollering them all year long. They've been my sleeper team. I think Citizens Christian is going to take down St. George, and I think that's who we're going to get in the state championship. What about you?
Fullington is the team to beat here. Just remember that quarterfinals are going to be at 3 locations in Macon: Stratford, Tattnall, and First Presbyterian Day throughout all the classifications. The Final 4 for Class 1A and 2A are going to be at Bruton Parker College. I'm with you, Thrift. I think it's going to be Fullington and Citizens Christian in the championship at Columbus State on Friday at 3 o'clock. That's going to be next Friday, February the 28th at CSU.
Yeah, can't wait for that, Richard. For the boys, let's talk about the boys. So Citizen Christian came in as the #1 overall team. Them and St. George were battling back and forth for who was going to be #1. You got FPCA coming in at #2 and Robert Toombs #3. Again, for the boys, and I'm looking at kind of the updated scores, and Flint River losing to Grace Christian. So we're going to get Grace Christian and Robert Toombs in that quarterfinals game. And I'm trying to see. I don't think we have many others. Westwood lost to Thomas Jefferson. So Thomas Jefferson and St. George. And I'm trying to see that LaGrange Atlanta Jewish game.
Yeah, they are underway at LaGrange.
Yeah, so Academy, we don't have, again, a lot of these scores we do not have. But even without having the brackets, because, again, they're happening right now, I'm going Citizens Christian, St. George, and then give me FPCA taking on Robert Toombs. I'm going to have Robert Toombs making it back to the championship, taking on Citizens Christian. And we're going to have Citizens Christian trying to sweep the single A classification, in my opinion. How do you see it playing out? They've been number one at the top all season long.
They really have. Season. Remember, the defending champion was Bong Sing Young Donavor, and they're actually in 2A. And so they've been struggling in 2A. We're going to have a new championship in the single A.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be a clean sweep. I think the Citizens Christian, for the girls and the boys, end up winning the championships respectively.
I don't know about the girls. I think Fullington, who's been #1 all year, 23-4.
You know, I take that back because Fullington is the #1 seed, but they could have.
We could have. You can go Citizens.
You know, it would be nice that they both could end up winning championships. We've seen that in the higher classifications, especially with those teams in 3A.
So I think Robert Toombs, who comes in 14-10, they're going to take down First Preparatory Christian Academy, who comes in 15-5 in the semifinals. That's if they get past the quarterfinals. And Citizens Christian, who's 16-10, they were just above FPCA. I think it's going to be them and Robert Toombs in that championship game. They'll be played at Columbus State. Remember, in single A, the Final Four is going to be held at Bruton Parker.
Yes.
Bruton Parker. is for single A and double A. Triple A and 4A is going to be at Columbus State University, and that's where me and you will be, Richard. All right, let's move on from 1A to 2A. And again, all girls' classifications are filled out already. The boys are playing out today. Gatewood took down Southland. I guess you can call that upset. The 9 seed takes down the 8 seed. Trinity Christian took down Sherwood as the 5 seed. They're taking on Edmund Burke. Briarwood beats Georgia Christian, and Furtop Prep beat Westminster. So you got Brentwood coming in as the number 1 team in 2A for the girls. And I'm going to pull that up here just right now. 18-6 on the year. Southwest Georgia comes in number 2. Then you got Central Fellowship and Edmund Burke. Edmund Burke 23-3, but did not play a tough schedule. And that's really what hinder a lot of teams. You keep asking about how can a team that has a better record be below someone that's not? The way they do the Maxwell rankings is about strength of schedule, strength of record. And right now, the best team has been Brentwood. I'm going to go chalk in this one. I'm going to go Brentwood, Southwest Georgia Academy, playing for the championship. I don't see many upsets in the quarterfinals. Usually a lot of those don't happen unless it's like a 4-5 matchup. Yeah. Furtop Prep, Central Fellowship is another one that you can keep an eye out on for maybe a potential upset. But either way, I'm going Brentwood, Southwest Georgia. What about you for 2A girls?
I'm going Brentwood Central Fellowship in the championship. I think that's going to be the matchup. It's going to be a good matchup in the semifinals between Central Fellowship and Southwest Georgia out of Damascus. And we saw them win a football championship. They have a very talented girls basketball team. But I just think that Central Fellowship, they've been one of the top teams all year. They're going to have a tough match against Furtop Prep. Remember, that's going to be at Tatnall. So those 2 games down at the bottom of the bracket, Southwest Georgia and Briarwood, and Central Fellowship and Furtop Prep are going to be at Tatnall. And then the top of the bracket, Brentwood, Gatewood, and Edmund Burke and Trinity Christian at Stratford on Friday.
All right, so that's girls. And again, we've already seen how we got the quarterfinals. He just made mention of where those games are going to be. And then if the winners will play at Bruton Parker on Thursday, February the 27th.
Right.
All right, let's go to 3A classification now, Rich. Excuse me, 2A boys. 2A boys. I forgot we hadn't done the boys yet. Again, we have games that are still being played out right now. Augusta Prep beat Rock Springs, so we know we're getting Central Fellowship taking on Augusta Prep. We also know that, honestly, I think that is the only game that is updated on Max Preps right now. Sherwood beat Briarwood, so we know that Sherwood, who is the 11 seed, upsets Briarwood at Briarwood.
How about that?
78-77. So they're going to be taking on Furtop Prep, who played in the championship last year. Still waiting on Gatewood Heritage Prep. And then we got Southwest Georgia and Georgia Christian games still being yet to be decided as well. So we'll see how those games are going to play out. If I look at the 2A boys, I think it's Heritage to lose. Okay. I think we're going to get Heritage back in the state championship game, be the 3rd year in a row. Remember, they played in 3A the last 2 years under Coach Job Jerome. I think this year they've been the number 1 team. Them, Furtop Prep, Central Fellowship, they've all been battling for that number 1 seed all year long. Heritage finished pretty sizable lead over Central Fellowship. Plus, they played a tougher schedule. I'm going to go Heritage Furtop Prep in the championship. Furtop making it back after last year, and I'm going to go Heritage cutting down the nets. What about with you, Rich?
I like that championship. I think that Central Fellowship Furtop Prep is going to be a battle at First Presbyterian Day on Saturday. But yeah, give me Heritage Furtop Prep. The runners up in 3A, they actually win it in 2A. Furtop Prep barely just gets there. I think that they don't have the same team they had last year. They had a lot of seniors on that team that won the 2A championship last year. I think that Furtop Prep gets back to the championship at Columbus State, but I think that Heritage is the favorite. They are the overall number 1 seed.
As they should be the favorite, and that they would be playing, Heritage would be playing at Stratford at 4:30. Brentwood will be playing at Stratford at 3. Central Fellowship and Furtop Prep will be playing at First Presbyterian Day. So the teams that are going to be facing off against Central Fellowship and Furtop Prep will be at FPD. For Brentwood and Heritage, are going to be playing at Stratford. All right, now to the 3A classification now, and the number 1 overall team is Lakeview. And if you look at the 3A classification, there's a lot of good teams, and we even got an undefeated Terrell Academy who comes in ranked number 2. How about Coach Israel's team? Undefeated right now. So Lakewood is taking on Pinewood. Frederica will be taking on Westfield. Westfield, we've seen them a lot because of the region they played in, but they're a 3A school that played with a bunch of 4A schools. I think that prepared them to beat St. Andrews as a 5 seed. They take on Frederica. John Millage beat Deerfield Windsor, so they'll take on Terrell. And Piedmont will take on Westminster of Augusta. No upsets there in that first round. And I don't see any upsets in the quarterfinals either, Richard, because I think the top 4 teams are, let me say this. The top 3 teams, Piedmont, Terrell, and Lakeview, I think they've separated themselves from everyone else in the pack. Frederica and Westfield are pretty similar, and Westminster Schools of Augusta right there on the edge too. I don't see an upset with Westminster beating Piedmont because of I just forgot her name that plays for Piedmont that put up 40 last year in the state championship game.
I'm trying to remember.
Holy smokes. Well, while you look it up, I'm going to continue talking right now because we said her name almost every single show.
Yeah, we have.
And of course, we're going to forget her on this show right now. But Frederica, I think Westfield upsets Frederica. I'm going to get a Westfield Lakeview semifinal. Terrell taking on Piedmont in the semifinal. So where are you going with this? And Marissa Holder is her name.
Marissa Holder, yes.
And she's putting up 27.1 points per game. She leads all scoring for all classifications for boys and girls in the state for the GIAA. That's how good she's been. Give me Piedmont Lakeview. Something's got to give.
Oh, my goodness.
I wouldn't be surprised if Terrell beats Piedmont, but I think Piedmont's experience making the state championship several times in the last couple of years, winning it last year. You're going to have the 2A champion taking on defending 3A champion. Piedmont Lakeview have stood by that all of this entire inside the GIAA that we've done these last couple of weeks. I'm going to sit with it now. Give me Lakeview Piedmont at Columbus State.
I'm telling you, I hope that Coach Matt Hauser is going to be at the championship because I think Marissa Holder, if she's not already gotten offers, she'd be a great fit at Columbus State because Marissa Holder is a fantastic player. I'm with you. I think it's going to be the defending 2A champion going up against the defending 3A champion. I do think chalk, but I got one upset in the quarterfinals. I got Westfield beating Frederica. I think that Westfield is in a district with a bunch of 4A schools. Why are you copying me, man? No, that's it. You did say Westfield too. Yeah,
I did, man. Great minds think alike. Continue.
Yeah, they do. We saw Westfield in person, so we know how good they are. So,
do you think they upset Lakeview?
I think Lakeview ends up beating Westfield in the Final Four.
And by the way, their semifinals will be at Columbus State on Wednesday, February 26th. And then Lakeview Pinewoods at FPD on Friday the 21st. Frederica Westfields at FPD on Friday the 21st. And then John Millage, Terrell, Piedmont, and Westminster of Augusta are at Tatnall on Friday as well. So make sure to go out and show support. And then, again, semifinals will be at Columbus State University. All right, 3A boys. And I'm looking at some of the scores right now. Valwood takes down Dominion Christian. So the number 9 seed Valwood is going to be taking on number 1 Brookwood at FPD at 8 o'clock on Saturday the 22nd. And then I think that's Westminster beat Terrell. So we got Westminster of Augusta beating Terrell. That was not a surprise. So they'll be taking on Lakeview on Friday at Tatnall. And that is the only updates right now. We do not know the Thrift area score against Westfield. And we do not know the Frederica score against John Millage. The Thrift area Westfield winner plays St. Andrews, the number 2 seed. Frederica, John Millage plays the 4 seed Deerfield Windsor. I'm going all chalk because I think the top 4 teams, you flip a coin and you could come out with a state champion. I think all 4 of these teams are elite, and they've all been beating themselves up in the tough regions that they played in. Lakeview comes in at number 1, followed by number 2 St. George. Number 1 is Brookwood. Number 2 St. George. Number 3 Lakeview, and number 4 Deerfield Windsor. Give me Brookwood, Deerfield Windsor. Give me St. Andrews, Lakeview. And St. Andrews, Lakeview is a rematch of last year's state championship game, if I'm correct. Lakeview played Heritage. St. Andrews did not play in the championship game last year. They actually lost in the Final Four. I remember calling that game. It was a great game. Give me Lakeview, Brookwood state championship. You really can flip a coin between Lakeview and St. Andrews. I think Brookwood has what it takes to take down Deerfield Windsor. I'm going all chalk to the semifinal. I'm going Brookwood and Lakeview, and I think cutting down the nets, I'm going to go Lakeview, man. Brookwood, the experience factor, being in that gym from last year, I think Lakeview has what it takes to come in and win, and their coach obviously knows how to win a state championship. In his first year as a coach last year, took that Lakeview program, Benji Wood, to a state championship. Where are you going in the 3A?
Could we possibly see a clean sweep for Lakeview for the boys and the girls? They did it last year in 2A. Can they do it this year in 3A? But give me Brookwood over, I'm going to say St. Andrews. I know it's tough because I think that's going to be a great matchup.
Flip a coin, man.
Going a little different with than you, Thrift. I think that St. Andrews, in a close game, beats Lakeview, but it's a coin flip. But we've got some – we're going to have some great Final Four matchups. If Chalk advances to the Final Four, which will be at Columbus State on Wednesday, Brookwood, Deerfield, Windsor, that's going to be a fantastic matchup. But I think Brookwood advances to the championship, and I got Brookwood winning it all.
Wednesday is the semifinals, 4:30 and 7:30. What time? They will be playing at Columbus State University, so we'll have the pleasure of doing the 3A and the 4A classification. Let's go to 4A now, and we have, again, it filled out for the girls. Number 1, Athens Christian. They've been number 1 pretty much all year. They're taking on Tallulah Falls, who beat Bullock. George Walton's taking on Loganville, who has been the team that's come on stronger than anyone. A lot of people say they're the surprise team that could really shock some people and make it to the state championship. FPD takes down Strong Rock as expected. They make it to the Elite 8 and Final Four, it seems like, every year. And Tatnall, here's the big one, upsets Kings
Huge
Academy.
Upset.
And now we got 11 seed Tatnall taking on St. Anne Pacelli, the defending state champion. I got Athens Christians all the way to the state championship. I just think they're too big, too physical, and they're the number 1 team for a reason. I think Loganville upsets George Walton.
Wow.
And we're going to get a Loganville-Athens Christian Final Four. I think FPD upsets Stratford, and we're going to get a rematch of last year's Final Four, FPD and Pacelli, and give me Athens Christian, Pacelli, and the state championship. And, Pacelli, defending champion.
Can never count out the heart of a champion.
Thank you, Rudy. Thank you, Rudy. I'm going to go Athens Christian as the state champion. I'm looking at them. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a heck of a game, but I'm going to take Athens Christian over St. Anne Pacelli in that state championship. Richard.
Athens Christian is number 1 for a reason. They went to the Final Four last year as a GHSA school in Class 1A Division 1. And one thing about Athens Christian is that they are physical. They've got post players inside that can guard Michaela Hosley. Because I think that's going to be the big matchup nightmare for a lot of these teams is Michaela Hosley inside. Pacelli's got good guard play with Tamaya Ransom and Grace Smith and Jayla Kendrick coming off the bench. I mean, I think it's going to be a classic matchup between Pacelli and Athens Christian at Columbus State. I think that Pacelli is going to have that home court advantage. Mm-hmm. It's tough, but I think that Pacelli goes back-to-back.
And I want to emphasize this. We do not care if our picks come into fruition. I want people to understand that. So when these games don't pan out the way we are predicting them, we're getting, hey, shove it, man. You didn't know what you were talking about, man. You really got us.
But we're going a different way.
Right. Yeah. And I could care less of who's playing in those games. I just want to see great games.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to being able to call those semifinals and state championship games. So Athens Christian, Tallulah Falls at FPD, George Walton, Loganville at FPD this Friday, Stratford FPD, and St. Anne Pacelli, Tatnall at Stratford. So because FPD is the lower seed, they will not be playing at their home court, which makes sense. Why should they get a home court
It's still
advantage?
kind of a home court advantage because they just go down the street over to Stratford. I mean,
I
think all the schools in Macon are going to have a little bit of a home court advantage.
Yeah, it's a 5-minute drive to there. And the semifinals on Thursday, state championship on Saturday at 6:20. All right, finally, we have the boys state championship as we have number 1 seed Pacelli, 37-game winning streak, 25-0, and they're going to be taking on the winner of Tallulah Falls and Brookstone. Last time I heard, Brookstone was down in that game, so it looks like we will not be getting Brookstone Pacelli Part 4 like we thought we may be getting. And honestly, it would be the third straight year those rivals have played in the quarterfinals. They played at 23, 24, and now. And by the way, we called their game at Stratford when they played each other
2 years ago. Yes.
Tatnall last year.
Yes.
And then this year would be at Tatnall again if they were to play. Speaking of Tatnall, they're taking on the winner of Stratford and Loganville. We don't have an update on that. Bethlehem Christian Mount DeSales are playing later tonight, and Kings Academy defeated Calvary Christian yesterday. So we do have that one against Athens Christian. I think right now, Tatnall versus Pacelli. You know what? No. I'm going to go Stratford. I'm going to say Stratford-Pacelli semifinal.
Ooh, rematch of the 2023
I'm going to take Cristo Rey and Athens Christian, and I'm going Athens Christian, Pacelli. It's going to be a clean sweep for both Pacelli and Athens Christian for girls and boys. Both of them are going to be playing in the state championship, and I think the Pacelli Vikings are going to extend their winning streak to 40 games. They're going to go to 28-0 on the season, and they're going to go back-to-back. I just think that they're in a class of their own, and that includes all the GIAA teams, in my opinion, but specifically in 4A. I mean, if you look at the rankings, Richard, in 4A, Pacelli has, and the way they do their ratings, they're about 12 points higher than Cristo Rey. That's pretty sizable advantage. I don't think that any of these teams match up great, but I do think the one team that could is Athens Christian. They got the size and the ability to do that. Cristo Rey's got the scoring. Problem is they don't have the size. And when you take on a Pacelli team that's got 5 or 6 guys that are 6'4" and taller, you're going to need guys that can bang, be physical. Yeah. And I think Athens Christian is really the only opportunity for that. I think Stratford and Pacelli could be a fun matchup. It's a rematch of the 2023 state championship. But give me Pacelli, Athens Christian, Pacelli cutting down the nets for the boys. What about you, Rich?
I think right now Pacelli is head and shoulders above everybody else in the 4A classification. In fact, they just had the district awards, and both Pacelli coaches won Coach of the Year, Player of the Year for Michaela Hosley on the girls, and then Jalen Bush for the boys. I think that Pacelli is just playing on another level. Their starting 5 is solid when you have Jalen Bush, the Player of the Year, when you have Bakai Williams and Michael Rowe. Those are your post players. And I think that Pacelli is just going to end up winning and cutting down the nets as well and winning back-to-back championships.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. We have on Coach Sam Roundtree coming up next. His team from Athens Christian just won a state championship in wrestling. We look forward to talking to him coming up next on Inside the GIAA.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.
Founded in 1985, the Georgia Independent School Association proudly represents nearly 170 accredited private, independent, and parochial schools across the state. From Tallulah Falls to St. Simon's Island, from Columbus to Augusta, our schools serve over 76,000 students every year. Whether parents are interested in smaller class sizes, more individual attention, a religious-based curriculum, or a safe and structured environment, the GISA provides a strong education, which is the foundation for success. To learn more about the GISA and how they can serve your school, visit us online at www.gisaschools.org.
It's Rich and Thrift and Rich. It's Inside the GIAA. And Richard, you want to make a correction? We know I made mention Lakeview was the 3A state champion for boys and girls last year. I think you forgot that it was Piedmont that was 2A.
Piedmont that was
that
the
moved
2A
up to 3A.
Yeah.
But we got Lakeview girls taking on Piedmont. I think Lakeview's going to win. You do too. And for the boys, I'm going to go Lakeview taking down Brookwood. So I think another clean sweep for those Lakeview Lions. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on the head wrestling coach for Athens Christian. His name is Coach Sam Roundtree. Coach, thank you so much for joining the program.
Hey guys, thank you for having me. I brought a special guest with me right here. We just got out of practice. This is Oriah Mills, one of the top 106s in the whole country right here.
I appreciate you having him on. Ryan, thank you again for joining us. Coach, what we like to do before we even talk about this year, how the season went, winning a state championship, I would like for you to kind of give a brief, story on why you love wrestling, what led you into wrestling, and what led you taking over this program for Athens Christian.
Oh, well, long story short, I started wrestling in 8th grade, which is a little bit later than a lot of kids nowadays. Everybody starts really early. I started in 8th grade, fell in love with it immediately. I always wanted to be an athlete, and wrestling, I was a smaller kid. I think I weighed 103 my freshman year. So there wasn't a lot of opportunities for me, like on the basketball court, on the football field. Kind of found my niche just wrestling, listening to a couple of my buddies. And then that fire just stayed burning inside me through high school and college. And then I knew, even when I was in college, thought I wanted to teach and coach. But as I got more into it, I was just, I decided I wanted to go the route of, owning and running a training facility, and then eventually coaching at the high school level, which has been a lot of fun this year.
Coach, making that transition from the GHSA to the GIAA, how's that transition been? I know that athletic programs have had success, and you were able to win the overall state championship as a team, and finishing second was Pacelli. But just talk about just how that match went, and really what's it been like just making that transition to the GIAA?
It wasn't a big transition for me. I'm pretty consistent on the way we do things. We go to work every day. We're a blue collar group, from the kids that train at my wrestling facility to the kids that are wrestling at Athens Christian. I brought a mindset of not focusing on winning. That brings unneeded stress to some of these guys where they already have enough going on in their young minds. We just focused on little things like development, growth, improvement, effort, attitude, all the things that we could control. And then the winning just happened to come with it. I coached 1 year in GHSA when I first moved to Atlanta. So it wasn't like I had a ton of years here. I did coach for 3 years in public school in North Carolina. It was a small transition, but really wasn't much for us. And it's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to helping GIAA grow as the premier wrestling league in the state.
Coach, you win a state championship here in your first season, but I want to let you have an opportunity to talk about Ryan and several other key contributors to help you win a state championship. Did I say his name wrong?
Oriah.
Okay, sorry
Oriah
about that.
Mills.
Okay, I appreciate that, Coach. And I'm going to let you talk about them in a moment, but you made mention, we had on a guy by the name of Adrian Anderson, who's a longtime legendary wrestling coach in the state, did a great job with Pacelli. He's all about growing the sport. So this is kind of your message to people that are out there, why wrestling is so unique. And you made mention about your training regimen and how tough it is to be a wrestler, what type of discipline it takes to be an elite wrestler. So this is kind of your floor to talk about how great of a sport it is and why people need to tune in and want to be a part of it and watch.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many different things that you can apply from the wrestling mat to life in general, whether it's perseverance, whether it's being disciplined. There's a lot of different things you can go for. And to be honest with you, that's really what we're looking at. I mean, we do enjoy developing solid wrestlers, but we want to put good people out there and strong individuals out there on this earth that in any environment they're in, they can succeed. And I feel like we do that by pushing them as hard as we do on the mats and kind of showing them how much will they have in them to withstand and to persevere against all that.
Coach, a place like Athens Christian, you have athletes, wrestlers who play multiple sports. How does wrestling and the practice and the work ethic help prepare the athletes to play in multiple sports?
Oh man, besides just being a tough sport, there's a lot of different things that go into it. There's a hand fighting aspect that play different roles on the football field. There's hips and footwork that also play. It's huge in every sport you play, whether it's basketball, baseball, any of them. So there's a lot of different translations there from wrestling to other sports. But I think the biggest translation is just mental. It's tough, and sometimes you have to push yourself through uncomfortable situations. And I think that's key for just life. Things aren't going to go our way, and you gotta push through it sometimes.
Coach, I want you to talk about the young man that you got next to you. I want you to talk about some of the key wrestlers that helped win y'all a state championship your first year here in the GIAA.
Well, Araya's been with me for Araya? How long? 5 years?
5.
He's been with me for 5 years. He's been training me for 5 years.
Wow.
I knew even at 10 years old that Araya was going to be special. He was the kind of kid that would come to the high school events and sit sideline, watch his brothers, just be in love with the sport. He didn't want to leave the mats. And that's just something that's rare. Everybody, I mean, a lot of these guys enjoy it, but just to see the passion and the love for it, I could relate to it. This is my whole life. Wrestling has helped me not only become a better person, but has also changed my livelihood and the way I live. And I've had a great time kind of passing some of those messages on to these guys. And Araya now he's going to be a freshman next year, and he's doing a great job passing those messages along to the younger generation. Araya, you got anything to say about that?
Nah, I don't know what to say.
Coach, before you can go on, I do want to ask, what's it like playing for Coach Roundtree? What does he mean to you and all the different wrestlers helping y'all become the elite and winning a state championship like you did this year, man?
He's really like a second father figure to all of us.
Awesome.
So yeah, how hard he pushed us in the training, in our training preparation is the main thing. How he just like win, lose, or draw anything, he doesn't really care. Just give it all you got. And yeah, that's how he pushed all of his kids, even in Roundtree, even in ACS. Because all of us in ACS, we know we had some like beginners, but he still pushed them as hard as they can and developed them very well.
I'm gonna tell you this right now. What grade are you in, man?
8th grade.
Holy smokes! I've had grown men on and women who will not articulate themselves and speak with confidence like you do. You got a great one, Coach. But go ahead, Richard.
Coach, talk a little bit about your staff.
Yeah. Very lucky. I'm not going to lie to you. Coach Ethan Smith was very welcoming. He's been there for the last couple of years. It's very welcoming when I came in. It's very hard to bring in someone with as much experience as I have. And I'm a big personality. I'm not going to lie. It's hard to bring them in sometimes and be able to coexist and work. But Ethan's been great. He's done a lot for us in strength conditioning and keeping the kids healthy. He's got a big background when it comes to all that kind of stuff. We also brought in Brian Tacto, who has been involved with the Banks County Youth Program for years. He helped us build our first ever Athens Christian Youth Program and is also an assistant coach on the high school team. He, too, has put in so much work, even behind the scenes with these guys. We have a couple other guys I want to shout out. It's Caleb White. His son, Josh White, wrestles on the team. It's his first year from Bethlehem Christian. And Derek Abbott, his son, you will be hearing about a lot in the future. He's a 6th grader named Bo Abbott. Those two guys also are on staff. And again, could not do what we did this year without them. And we cannot grow into the program that we want to be without those guys. So without them, I mean, we wouldn't have won this year. So a lot of thanks goes to those guys for sure.
Coach, when we had Adrian Anderson on, he talked about national prep that's coming up. I want you to kind of allude to that. Who are some of the guys and girls that will be going on to perform in that? And what does that mean for wrestlers? Because I feel like now, after you won the GIAA state, now we're all cheering for you because it's like GIAA versus everyone, if you will. Talk about what's coming up next for the national prep.
Well, one of my selling points to, the kids that are at Athens is I tell them, I'm like, the national prep tournament is the hardest postseason tournament in high school. It's harder than any state tournament in any state. That includes the Mecca, which is PA, Pennsylvania State. It's harder than that. So we're very excited for the opportunity to compete there. I think Araya, who's sitting next to me, he's in 8th grade. I think he got seeded 3rd. He has a legit shot at coming away with a national title as an 8th grader, which is pretty unheard of. I mean, I'm sure you know that. And then we're also bringing Josh White. He's a 3-time GIAA state champion. He placed 2nd at the regional qualifier. I think he has a really good shot to be on that podium too. we got hit a little bit with the injury bug and and a little bit of just being sick here towards the end of the season. So we didn't get to take as many guys as we wanted, but we're still thrilled to take the 2 that we're taking. And like you said, represent GIAA and cheer on the rest of those guys.
Final question, Coach. What makes Athens Christian a place you want to call home? Why you're there, and why is it so unique and a special school to be at?
The culture's changed there. I mean, obviously Christian education's awesome and I enjoy it, but the culture's changing there a lot now. And it's something that a lot of kids and families want to probably be a part of. They have the new AD there. Tim Early's doing a great job making sure he's taking care of the athletics part of everything. Our head of our school, Steve Cummins, is completely bought into not only renovating and fixing the school to where, we have all the bells and whistles, but also bringing in the right people. Like I said, it was, I was very happy that they decided to bring me in and with open arms and allow me to do what I do. And it's just a testament to the school and what they're looking to traject towards.
Coach, thank you so much for joining us. All right, good luck at the national prep. You were excellent, man, and we look forward to talking to you again in the future. Thank you so much, Coach, for spending time with us here on Inside the GIAA.
Hey, thank you, guys. Go Eagles.
Yes, sir.
That is Coach Sam Roundtree and his dynamic wrestler, Rye, who's going to be playing in the national prep, just won a state championship. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're talking to him. It's the man. It's the myth. It's the legend. It's Kent Copeland on Inside the GIAA coming up next here. We'll be right back after this.
This copyrighted broadcast, presented exclusively on GIAA.tv, is copyrighted by the Georgia Independent Athletic Association, a division of the Georgia Independent School Association, for the private use of our audience. It may not be retransmitted, reproduced, rebroadcast, or otherwise distributed or used in any form without the express written consent of the Georgia Independent School Association.
Welcome back here to Inside the GIAA. Live from the Beck Center. Thank you to Roger Beck and the Beck Center for all they do, presenting obviously all the state championship games, allowing us to be inside the GIAA, hosting it here. But without further ado, I'm going to bring on Mr. Kent Copeland, a part of the GIAA, part of the Commissioner's Corner. Kent, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Kent, if you don't mind, you're muted right now. Maybe you can unmute yourself up there. We didn't get you on that part. You just look down at the bottom. You'll see the mute and unmute button. See if we can't get you. While Kent's doing that right now. This guy's a fantastic. Oh, and there we go. Now let's bring it back on. There, we got you, Kent. Thank you again for joining us.
Glad to be with you guys.
All right, Kent, if you don't mind, before we even get into your history and let everyone know who you are, can you kind of explain your job title, what you do for the GIAA, so that everybody can know who the man, the myth, the legend, Kent Copeland is?
All right. Well, the title is called Executive Assistant to Athletics, but our ultimate goal is all of us working together to achieve one common goal for our athletes and for our schools and for our fans.
Kent, if you don't mind, what I like to do, and the same thing that we did when we had on Clint, we had on Tommy, a brief history of how you got involved in sports. I know you were part of GAPS before you got here to the GIAA. Can you kind of talk and lead us up to the moment? Were you coaching before? What got you involved in high school athletics that led you to this job here with the GIAA?
I grew up in GISA all my life. Went to Georgia Christian School and graduated there. Played college ball at Barry College. And now that's a long time ago because I graduated in 79, but came back and first 2-3 years came back to my old high school and as assistant coach. My first head coaching job was in Eatonton, Georgia in 1986. And we spent some great years, probably 9 or 10 there in Eatonton, Georgia. But I got away out of the education. My wife is a school teacher also, and went into the business world for a while, but never left coaching. Continued to do it down at Georgia Christian at Valdosta for about 8 or 10 years as a community coach. Then got back into it at Georgia Christian as an AD and a basketball coach. Not a football guy, but we started football that had never been played at Georgia Christian. I think they've been around now doing it about 10 or 11 years, and started volleyball at Georgia Christian. From there, I did leave. I got a buddy of mine, Gene Harper, was at Gatewood with me, talked me into getting into the, at the time, the GIAA and the GI now GAPS. And we did 3 years there, but I got an opportunity to what I would say come home. Jeff and Clint and them gave me an opportunity to get back in it and come home. And it's the best move ever made. It's a great team of guys that work in the GIAA, and I can't be more excited to be a part of that.
Kent, what makes the GIAA a special association to be a part of? Obviously, it's growing. We see teams from the GAPS and the GHSA making that transition this year. But just talk about the growth of the GIAA and some of the things that make it special.
Well, first of all, making it special is the team that has been assembled, and Jeff Jackson gets that credit. But we have assembled a team that, Clint is the boss he's the athletic director, but we work together so well. And Tommy Marshall is our commissioner, and we have Robert Slocum and Amy Eller. I mean, it's a great team, and it's a cohesive group that do a great job on the GIAA side. I think one of the key things that we do is we listen to our people. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to get everything they want, but you can't, because everybody has a great opinion and a great thought. But the opportunities that have given us growth is one thing is listening to our people and adjusting and making changes where we can that betters our league as a whole.
Kent, when you go into picking a site to host an event, you had Riverside Prep that hosted the wrestling. You had Georgia Tech hosting the swimming. Obviously, Georgia Southern for the football. You had here in Columbus, South Commons hosting softball. Now you got Bruton Park or Columbus State doing the semifinals for basketball. Columbus State doing the finals. When you go about picking a location that is good for all the GIAA, but also is a big enough city that can be welcoming for people to go and find stuff to do, how do you go about that process in finding the location?
Well, it all starts and if I may just use basketball since we start and we'll go backwards. Basketball, we start late July, 1st of August, and we are out visiting schools and making colleges and making contacts and getting to know people. And then we talk to them. And the key thing is they've got to have open dates. That's one of the most important things. It has to line up with our calendar. So we have been very fortunate in basketball to work. This is our second year at Columbus State. Before that, we were at Mercer for a while. And then before that, we were at Georgia Southwestern. And I think one of the key things you mentioned here is size. We need about 3,000 seats because you're preparing for the biggest game, not the smallest game. You don't ever want to have people standing out or not be able to get in. But it starts early. We nail it down and bring it to our athletic committee in basketball in early September for everybody heads, athletic committee and heads approval. We put bids out for certain sports, and Riverside, by the way, and I was there at that wrestling event, did an excellent job. All credit has to go to Clint Morgan on Georgia Southern, man. I mean, my boy kicked his coverage on that one now. That was a beautiful
yes, it
place,
was.
and they were welcoming. So football is a challenge for us because of, the dates, us finishing before Thanksgiving. And that, too, comes down to what school has an opening that week that will let us come in. And especially with us adding 8-man and girls flag to the state championship event on Thursday, and then coming in with our 4 classifications on Thursday and Friday.
Kent, with the spring sports coming up, and I know, like, for example, baseball, last year it was at Macon. The year before it was in Augusta. Do you factor in, like, changing up the location just to accommodate all the GIAA schools? Because we got quite a few schools in Augusta that are in the GIAA and a lot of schools in Macon as well. Does that factor in when you change up the location every year? And where do you think that?
I would answer this. If we could be in the middle of the state every time, we'd be in the middle of the state every time. Because then we don't get fussed out about, somebody driving too far. But
Right.
I also look at it, if I'm playing in a state championship game and you tell me I got to drive to the top of state of Georgia and I'm playing in a state championship game, I'm driving. I'm going.
Yeah.
But what factors in is we do move it around if we can. There are a lot of things that have to come into play. Again, locations being willing to work with us, number one. And I will say Columbus has been that for us for the last couple of years. Give credit to Mary Sherman over there in the Sports Council. She is a great person to work for. Columbus State has been great to work with. And, baseball, although I better not say where it's at, but I'm pretty sure that there's a new stadium in your town that very well could be possibly the one we go to.
Yeah, Synovus Park. By the way, Klingstones are coming in. It is a beautiful facility there. Kent, and I'm going to second your assessment of Mary Sherman. Love her. Love what the Sports Council represents. It's awesome for the city to bring in stuff like this. And I was so excited Columbus State was able to host the finals last year, and now the semifinals and finals this year. But at the event, you, Clint, Robert, y'all all over the place. I also got to throw in there Tony Morgan because he's in charge of all the GIAA.TV stuff. I mean, your entire team, and he's our mentor. He's our boss. And really, we feel like we're part of the team too, Kent, about putting out all the promotion we can for GIAA. But on a state championship or semifinal, when you're at that event, what are you kind of doing and overseeing during those times?
Well, I hope that we have done everything before we get there. That's first. Okay. And I will tell you, just speaking of Columbus State, we have probably been there. Well, the first visit in July, August, a visit in probably late September, early October. And then Clint and I just came back from our final walkthrough, dotting I's and crossing the T's with Columbus State. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes.
Right.
I know people show up and that's their job. Show up and have a great place, a great venue for the kids, again, for the schools and for the families and the fans. That's our goal. But there is, you talk about, let's just think about 1 second, just officials.
Right.
For our state champion started, the boys just finished at round 1 at higher seed tonight. Girls played last night. We moved to Macon to FPD Stratford and Tatnall this weekend. And then we split off with single A, double A going over to Bruton Parker. And I will say, great shout out to them. That is a great venue and it is loud and roaring and it's a great place for kids to play. And then we send AAA and 4A, and we got fortunate this year over to Columbus State, and then they get to come back and play there with the single A and double A for the championship on Friday, Saturday. But last year, we used Georgia College. We meet with Mercer. We meet with every one of these schools. I have actually made contact 2 years now in a row with Augusta State, and they have a beautiful facility over there. Seats about 3,000, but they had some renovation this year. So we are always, as you had mentioned earlier, looking for a new opportunity for our schools and these fans to come to and these kids to experience. But you get officials. Now you got to go break down in Columbus, and you got to have the table, and that clock operator, that shot clock operator, that announcer, that person in charge of music. That's what makes the game go on, that behind the scenes that nobody really looks at. But if without them, we're in trouble because I don't want to be that guy behind there running the clock. And then we have I'll give a great shout out to our T-shirt people. They come in and do a great job, and we set that up for them. And the officials room again. Columbus does such a great job in helping us, make it happen. But it is a lot of little stuff, a little planning that makes this thing. We pull it off because it comes because everybody's working and everybody's working together.
Kent, what makes the GIAA special? Why is this an association that people would want to work for? Schools would want to play for this association?
The people. I mean, when you want to get up and go to work, and you don't worry about, or you're not, oh, I got to go in today, or I got to go do this. That's not even in any of our repertoire. We just enjoy doing this for our schools and for our fans. I would hope that there will be others take a look and see what the GIAA could do for them. And sometimes the GIAA may not be for somebody, but right now I think we have a great thing going. And with 4 years now, with the emergence of the Macon schools, the Columbus schools, I'll call it Gainesville area from George Walton up to Bethlehem, and now even Tallulah Falls. Those were great additions that helped our league grow into a Class 4A.
That's a great point, and we are so excited to be a part of this. Kent, thank you again for coming on here tonight. Looking forward to seeing you at Columbus State University next week, and we appreciate everything you do, Clint does, Stan Whitlock, Tommy Marshall, Tony Morgan, the whole team. We appreciate y'all, and thank you for coming on, man.
Hey, man, thank y'all. See you there soon.
Yes, sir. That is Kent Copeland, the Executive Assistant Athletic Director for the GIAA. What a show, man. What an interview for Coach Browntree and his player, having Kent on, breaking down all the brackets and giving you who we think is going to win our bracketology, if you will, who's going to win the state championship. Don't hold us to it if it doesn't pan out that way. Trust me, we don't care who wins. We just want to make sure they're great games, and we're promoting the GIAA the best they can. Any final thoughts, Richard?
Another great show. I'm excited about the playoffs in the first round wrapping up tonight so we could see those matchups in the quarterfinals. I know that it is going to be popping in Macon this weekend. Pretty much all the GIAA is going to be in Macon. So safe travels there. And for the venues of Stratford, FPD, and Tatnall, I hope they are just hospitable and they put on a good show. I think this is going to be a fun weekend.
No doubt about it. And we will be back next week. I don't know the day. We're leaning towards Monday or Tuesday because semifinals start Wednesday, Thursday, and then we got championships Friday, Saturday. We will have a preview for those. It may be Tuesday night. We'll let you know. Follow us on Facebook, like us on Instagram, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and, of course, go to GIAAsports.org. You're wondering, how do you get all this information? It's right at the fingertips. All you got to do is go to GIAAsports.org. From Richard Holdridge, I'm Thrift Barringer. Thank you again to the Beck Center for allowing us to be here and being our presenting sponsor. We'll see you next week. Good luck to all the basketball teams, and can't wait to see who's going to be in those semifinals. Good night, everyone.